Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Welcome once
hello,
again.
hello. We are here again.
We're here again, and today we have a special guest.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Dr.
It's all about the money,
MoneyWise.
money,
So,
money, money.
what did we talk about today, Dr. Andy? Just a tick, short.
Money.
Money,
So
money.
we're talking about how to make smarter financial decisions and
Yes.
avoid costly mistakes.
Yeah.
It's basically about taking charge of your finances, whether it comes to investing, not overpaying taxes, having a healthy relationship with money,
Yep.
making sure that your pension is going in the right way, and avoiding financial anxiety,
Yes.
keeping up at night because of money.
Yeah, absolutely. You've done a good job
Yes.
summarizing that. So listen, guys, and let us know what you think.
Let us
All
know what
right.
you think. All right, then.
Okay. Tell me what's your flavor. Hey. This is Loud Mamas, where the group chat comes alive.
We are three doctors with loud opinions, soft hearts, and way too many stories to share.
From friendships, life lessons to hot takes and a little chaos, nothing is off limits. So grab your tea, get comfy, and let's murmur loudly.
We're live.
We're live. Hi, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to another episode of Loud Mamas. And we're here, your hosts as usual, Dumi and MisJ. We have a special guest who introduced himself, but we brought you something so special. You guys need to pay us at this point. Yeah.
Yes.
So, do you want to introduce yourself, Dr. Andy?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm Dr. Andy Egwim. I'm the founder of MoneyWise Doctor. It's a platform that helps doctors and healthcare professionals make smarter financial decisions. And over the last 3 years, we've helped over 1,500 doctors to avoid costly mistakes. The doctor is for real, even though I don't practice as much medicine, but it's not like Dr. Dre. I did go to medical school.
Wow, you guys are so lucky. I have 4 doctors. Well, 4 doctors technically, but 1 financial doctor.
Oh, okay. let's ask GMC.
Right. So, how's your week been, Dr. Andy? What did you get up
Yeah,
to?
it's been a very interesting week. So this is the
The week just
busiest week.
started.
The week before, not
Yeah.
this week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the week before this week the tax year ends April 5, and that's when everyone suddenly wakes up. So my DMs are buzzing, and then I've got this small community, and everyone is suddenly remembering, no, I've not claimed my tax relief, ISAs, pensions. What do I do now? I don't know what's going on. The sky is falling. Yeah, so the tax year is ending. Usually the busiest here because obviously, if you got allowances you don't use, some of them get lost. But we anticipate it, so we're building some extra space for capacity.
Yeah.
Have areas in my calendar open and prepare my team and plan not to take a holiday now, but I'll disappear immediately after the tax
After
year
the
ends.
chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to go and cool your brain off.
Yeah, I need that.
Right. And you girls, what's up? What have you been up to the last few
Well,
days?
the week just started. I just finished my night shift this morning. I just went to bed and I just came back from the gym and had to rush to to this
Ooh.
podcast. So
Yeah.
yeah, the week has
Yeah.
started on a good note.
Good,
enough.
good. I was asking myself today, why are you not going to the gym? I don't know. I don't have an answer, so I'll just keep feeling guilty and still doing nothing about it. So yeah.
Why
Dibby,
don't
what's
you
up?
Just do
join?
it.
Yeah,
So why don't I join who?
maybe join Miss J.
Yes. What's up,
It's
Dumi?
not-
Wait, you were meant to
My
be going to the gym.
accountability
Your
mistress,
accountability
anyway.
partner was meant to be MisJ. What has happened to that?
Oh gosh.
Go
Right,
on.
it's
she
not
left
easy
me.
to do, is it?
No, it's not. It's
not.
Yeah.
not.
No,
It's
no.
one of
Yeah.
those that every day you have to talk yourself out of your bed. It's just so cozy.
No.
It's just so cozy.
But
Yeah.
I don't think you should let yourself. I don't know. I prefer to do it after work.
I can't hear you.
I prefer to go to the gym after work. Yeah. Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
because
we
you were
can
doing
hear
that
you.
with your headphone, your earpiece.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Yeah, so it's easier. Yeah, because once I get inside the house, it's game over. I'm not coming out.
The interesting thing about today for me is that I got to the gym. Whilst I was going to the gym, I received a call and was on the phone for about an hour. I was parked in the parking lot. After the call, I'm like, should I go in or should I go home?
I've been there. I've been there before.
I was like, should I go in or should I go home? I'm like, I'm already here. Let me just go in, even if it's 45 minutes.
I think my goal in April will just be to step into the gym. That should be a win.
Yes.
After having that long chat, you're just drained. And it's like you've had gym of your mouth. No, please. No, please.
It's all muscles, right? The book muscles.
Well.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. Someone has invited me to a run this Saturday, a park run. So I decided that I will go. I don't know why I said yes, but I've said yes and I have to commit to it. And hopefully I'll go at 8:45. I don't know why anybody runs in the morning, but I will go.
Saturday morning for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I will run. I'll just probably do a bit of light jog and walk the 5K. But yeah, let's see how it goes.
5K?
Yeah.
Okay, that should be good. I've got like
5K. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's what they said we are doing. Yeah.
I've got...
Well, you walk and run.
That's what I'm going to do.
I feel like running is one of those things. When you start it, you hate it. Then once you get into it, people who are runners, they can't just shut up about it. They always like, oh, I'm getting running.
It's a whole personality.
Running. Yeah, exactly. That's all they do.
Exactly.
Like, I'm going for a run. Hey, look at me on Facebook.
Yeah. I'm better than you. What do you do?
Well, we don't know what they're saying,
That's
but
the way
something inside us is saying, oh, you just sit on your couch. I'm running a marathon and I'm raising money for the blind.
Getting ready for a run, stretching for a run. A run just feels so light. I'm like, I beg. It's not that when you're running as if you are fighting for your life to be there and someone is telling me you feel free. I can't feel my heart. My chest is tight.
Runners, we're not hating. We are just a little bit envious. That's all.
Envious, because I can't even run on the treadmill. When I run, I feel like my heart. I would rather walk on an incline than run because running is not my thing. No.
Yeah.
Every day I go for a walk for almost 2 hours.
Oh,
that's
wow.
good.
That's good.
Yeah, I get to the woods, I go around my estate, and it's nice because I can think, can listen to podcasts or do whatever I want. But I said, I should change this to a run. I tried a few times, like, no, nobody's chasing me. I would like to, but the most important thing, you're moving, you're getting out of bed, you're moving, you're doing stuff. And that's, again, the same thing relates to finance, right? It doesn't all have to be perfect. It doesn't all have to be, as long as you're making an effort and you're avoiding sort of like just any risky stuff from happening. Starting from somewhere, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. So when we started this podcast in this year, we said that we're going to get our monies up. We promised you guys that we're going to try our best to. I think we started with giving them tips for side hustle from our own limited understanding and knowledge. And we promised that we're going to bring someone who knows a lot about, finances, especially for people who will need it. And obviously, I know Dr. Andy said, mentors, medic in terms of finances, but that's not just the people that will benefit from this podcast. Anybody. You're in the UK, you're paying tax. Tax applies. There's no special tax for doctors and non-doctors. If you fall into any bracket, you're getting it. You're getting the percentage. So as I take care of our physical health, we also have to look at our financial health. So most of this episode is going to be about talking about finances, gray areas, as much as we can take, within the hour or so. But before we start, I don't know whether we start with this question that somebody wanted you to speak about on Instagram. This person said, hello, please discuss tax relief. Okay. I need to get back some money for exams and memberships. Thank you and well done.
That's a really good time because in the next 6 days of, it will be gone. One of the years will be gone. So we can start from there if that's
right. Okay. Yeah. And then we'll just work it backwards from yourself, your background.
How you got into,
Oh, it's very chocolate. I'm very confused. I was going to say, when I wrote the book, I thought I wrote it for doctors and healthcare professionals. But then I started getting letters and notes and reviews from engineers, bankers, lawyers, people from outside medical sector, and I'm not terribly upset about that. That's what took it to Amazon bestseller. But what you said was
Yeah.
spot on. The tax system is the same. There are a
Yeah.
few slight differences for doctors, especially if you work in the NHS and all that.
Right.
And we've got our unique issues, but the tax system is the same. You can claim tax relief irrespective of what you do. You can,
Yeah.
if you fall into the 60% tax trap, it's going to catch you.
Yeah.
If you don't make use of your allowances like your ISA and the rest of them, you're going to lose them.
Lose it.
Yeah, but let's talk about tax relief quickly, just because of the time between now and the end of the tax year.
Yeah.
So in the UK, if you work as a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, any professional, even a teacher, some of the expenses you make for your job to allow you to do your job, the government, our lovely HMRC, they allow you to deduct some of those expenses from your tax. So they're saying, well, you needed this to do your job. If you were self-employed anyway, you would have, deducted this. So now you've already spent your money to do that. They're going to allow you to claim that back. It's called tax relief on professional expenses. Okay. Now, the process of doing it shouldn't be complicated. In fact, I made a whole step-by-step video about it and did a guide. I've done quite a few guides about it. But just understanding what you can claim and what you can't claim is the key thing. So, for instance, if you're a doctor or a dentist, you should be claiming things like your GMC, General Medical Council, GDC. If you're a member of BMA, British Medical Association, or BD, or if you're a nurse, it could be like NMC. And if you're an engineer, obviously your own societies, Royal Society of Engineers or whatever. So you claim all these professional expenses. There's mileage as well if you're working somewhere outside your usual workplace, and of course, all those are professional expenses you can claim. There are quite a few of them, and we'll list them all on the MoneyWiseDoctor.com website. So you claim those tax relief by filling out the form. There's a form P87. You don't have to know how to fill it out. There's already a video step by step. You can watch it. I did that video. Watch the video. Click it. I've had like over 2,000 people have said, I used your video and I claim money. Oh, wow. I claimed 9,000. I claimed 10,000. Yeah. So we've had doctors. I think I had a doctor who had been in the UK. She was born in the UK, went to med school in the UK, been a doctor for 15 years, never claimed tax relief. And now you can only go back 4 years. So you can claim the current tax year and the last 4 years.
4 years.
Yes. So when she found out, she put in a claim. She claimed about £9,650, but she had lost like the other 10 years. Exactly.
Information is power.
Information is power. And this one was very fun because the husband is an accountant. So yeah, the husband is a big accountant in a big four firm. And he's like, why didn't my husband tell me? I'm like, I don't know. I don't do marriage counseling.
I will fight you. You taking back that money.
She's a consultant now. She said, I'm going to have a word with him. I'm like, I'm not getting involved in this. Yeah, so that's tax relief basically. Along the line, 2 years ago, our lovely HMRC, it used to be you could go online, fill out the form, and then that's it. You didn't need to submit any receipt or anything. But just good practice. We usually keep any receipts for anything we claim. We try to have evidence. So along the line, I think last year they switched it around. Or it was at 2024, and then insisted that you needed to fill out a paper form, fill it online, print it out, and post it. And we'll say, okay, so we are going back to the Stone Ages now. All right then. So there was a lot of protests. Some of us wrote to say, what's happening? Why are we needing to do this? Then HMRC reversed it again. So you no longer need to use a paper. In the meantime, we had already gone to do new videos on how you can fill it out the paper and post it. I thought it's not good for the environment. That's how our first debate. It's not good for the trees. So now it's back to you can fill it online. So if someone is listening to this, I don't know if the podcast comes out before April 5, but if they're listening to it, then they could actually go ahead, fill out the form online, claim their tax relief on their professional expenses.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Makes sense. So just to be sure, they can still go back to claiming as long as it's within the time period, right?
Exactly. They can go back. If they get it by April 5 this year, they can go back all the way to, I think that will be 2021. 21, 22. If they get it after April 5, they can still get
Yeah.
2022,
Yeah.
2023, which is still a
Okay.
great
Yeah.
deal for most people.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you. Agree with that. So for exams, I know sometimes they say if it's your exams,
Professional exams. Yeah.
you have to prove that it's necessary for you to do your
To
job or
practice.
something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, we
So
get
most
a
people
lot
have had that.
Yeah.
issue, right?
Yeah,
It's ridiculous, isn't it? From
yeah,
our
quite
darling
ridiculous.
HMRCs.
Yeah.
Because they are lovely HMRC.
Yeah.
So sometimes we get some inconsistency in their response. And most people just
Right.
say, okay, all right then. They didn't pay me, so I'm just going to let go. No. The way the UK tax system works, if you don't understand it, is a bit like you're working for free in some cases, because some doctors or healthcare professionals will rather work an extra shift than spend half an hour to try to recover £1,000. I'm thinking, how much did that shift really pay you? HMRC in some cases have said to people, well, we don't understand. Why are you writing this exam called AKT? Then you write them and said, is member of MROCGPAKT. So we've had a lot of back and forth. Every year we do the brown
Right.
envelope exchange. So we write
I like
love
that.
letters between
Love
ourselves. So
letters.
there's always something that, oh, you didn't do it. Oh, I did it, but this is the way. Yeah, so even if you applied for tax relief and for your exams and they wrote you back to say, oh, you aren't going to get refunded, then you should write back, basically, because you couldn't do your job. If you're a GP and you don't do your
Yeah.
exams, you can't really progress. So even if you're in the hospital, so I think you can claim your exams. You can claim CCT when you finish your CCT. You should be able to claim all of that. Claim cost of the recognized registrations as well, like the Royal Colleges. You should be able to claim all that.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah. I don't want to colonize all the questions. Do you have any questions before I say something?
You know, with what Dr. Andy was saying, he mentioned something about when your usual place of work changes. For example, maybe you have a regular job as a doctor where you go every day, but then you end up locuming maybe at let's say a sister hospital. You know, some of the trusts have other
Yeah. It's just a
what do you
hospital.
call it, nearby. You can, as a hospital doctor, you can still go
Yeah.
and do locums there. So if, for example, your main place of work is, let's say, Southampton General Hospital, and then you have to go to one of the community hospitals or something to do, let's say, for example, a locum, and you know
Yeah.
you are still paying tax as pay as you earn from that because it's under the same trust. But of course, there are different hospitals. Are you able to claim tax back on that locum, the travel where you have to go, because that's not your main place
Right.
of work? That is just
Like a
sort of like
mileage. Yeah.
in terms of
Okay.
mileage, you know, going to yes.
I think with some things, I would say I would rather apologize than ask for permission, and I'll explain. So when you work as a locum and you're working as a locum outside your own trust, that's
Yeah.
a different job altogether, and you're not going to be able to claim tax relief on it. But if you're working in your trust and then you're seconded to go and work in a different hospital in your trust, then that is a clear-cut situation. You should be able to claim tax relief. But when it comes to locum, it gets into gray area, right? Because now you're just doing a second extra job. So in that case, it's still an expense, but it's just basically like the hospital you are going to was your primary place of work in the first place. So when you go for a locum, your primary assignment is going to be in Southampton Community
Southampton. Yeah.
Hospital. So that will be the primary place. So you only pay tax relief mileage if you're going to a secondary place of work or business mileage. Let's say you work in Southampton General Hospital now, but you have a rotation to do and you're having to go to somewhere else for 3 months. And normally, if you had to go to your main place, it was 9 miles, and the new place is like 14 miles. So the difference is 5 miles. Those 5 miles is business miles, and that's the one you can claim. And most people think it's not what much. It depends. By the time you total it together
Yeah.
for the year and multiply it by 45p,
Okay.
it tends to
It's a
add
lot.
up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And obviously that would be if you're, because some people who are in training, they should be refunded back by their employer for that mileage. I think that's what used to happen there when we were in GP training. If you go for home visits and the mileage was a certain amount, you could claim it back from the employer. But if you were not refunded that money, were not paid that money, then you can claim it as mileage from
That's
HMRC.
correct. Yeah, there
Yeah.
are two ways actually. So I train in Cornwall. Cornwall is a lovely place, and if you are listening to this, you're thinking of GP training, Cornwall is fantastic. You should go there to train. We do have VTS on the beach. I talk to them once a
Ooh,
year.
look at that.
Yeah, every now and then I go to the beach for VTS and pick up seashells. So I go to speak to them once a year. They are GP training. So in Cornwall, then their distances could be quite far apart, and you could get refunded by the deanery. But that was just an option, right? The deanery was paying 28p per mile, and it was easier.
Hello?
You fill it out, you get paid, and that was it. HMRC was paying 40p per mile. Then I think it's 45p per mile now. If you're using a car, if you're using a bike, it's different. I don't know if any of you here don't look like bikers, but you never can tell, right? I don't know if any of you has a Harley Davidson parked in their garage.
Nah.
I know it doesn't seem like your vibe. But 45p. So some people I knew then decided, no, I'm not going to claim from my dinner. I'll claim from HMRC just because HMRC has a higher rate. I didn't do that. I just claimed from my dinner because sometimes some extras are not worth the extra trouble,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
HMRC had a higher rate, and the thing is, you can't claim both. If your
No.
dinner has refunded you, then you can't claim from HMRC. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. Right. I think I wanted to ask because I want to talk about the obviously 100K trap. You always talk about that. But
Yeah.
the one question I want to ask before that was for GP trainees who were GPs and that moved to being normal GPs in normal surgeries. Now I know our pension is now different.
Yeah.
Where do I find my NHS pension? How do I combine? Like, do you have an idea how I can combine them? Like, because I don't want to lose when you get to retirement. You're like, okay, where are the pension? Because I've gone to my PCSE, I can't find my NHS pension.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's quite a bit of a pain for GPs, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's usually like forms are sent out from A, from B. The usual place I'll start with will be my practice manager. So if you work in a practice, your practice manager will usually be able to point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Everyone in the UK has an allowance of £60,000 annually.
Yeah.
You can put that into your pension. So it's 60,000 or 100% of your earning. So if you earn 40K, your allowance is 40K. So you can't be like a GP, you're working with a limited company, and then you pay yourself £12,570, and then you go around and put 60K in your pension. You can't do that. There's a backdoor way to do it. For instance, if you've got a company, your company could contribute to your pension as your employer. So
Yeah.
that earning is not limiting you. If you pay yourself 12,570, then your company could contribute the rest.
The
Okay.
rest, yeah.
But if you're a doctor, you're working in a GP surgery, you still got that allowance. NHS pension will usually deduct about 12.5% from your pay, as long as your pay is above 65K. If it's below 65K, it's probably about 9.8%. This
Yeah.
was changed recently. It used to be 61,000 something. If you're earning 100K, 12.5% is already going to your NHS pension. Your employer will usually contribute. So for those in the hospital trust, it could be 23.7%. If you're a
Right.
GP partner, you're contributing as an employer and as an employee. Now, if you get your pension statement, you can then see what we call pension growth, how much your pension has grown. So it's not simply a matter of how much you've contributed. It will be how much you've contributed plus your employer's contribution plus uplift due to inflation.
Yeah.
Now, if your pension growth is 40K, you still have another 20K allowance because the allowance is 60K. That is what you could then contribute if you wanted to contribute extra to pension to avoid the 60% tax trap, which is something
Right.
we're going to come into very soon, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. So the only thing I need to do is find out from my practice manager where is my NHS pension
Yes.
before
So
people run me street in this UK.
even if they don't know exactly, they can point in the right direction to get
Yeah.
your PSC form, fill it out, and all that.
Yeah, I've
get
done
it
my
done.
PSC type A, the
Okay.
self-assessment. I don't know what it's called anyway
Yeah.
for you as a normal practice GP.
Yes.
And I filled out all of that, but then I was trying to find my NHS pension and I couldn't find it. So I'll find out from them where I can see that.
It's all still
yeah.
there. It hasn't gone away. I left the NHS. My last 95 job was 2022. I thought, well, do I still have a pension, but it's all still there. The beautiful thing about the NHS pension is called a defined benefit pension. It's
Right.
very rare these days. You only find it with police, healthcare, fire service. You don't get it in industry. It's not that common these days. Defined
No.
benefit pension is salary for life. That means even if you've left, for instance, if you leave now the NHS, the pension pot there, let's say your pension pot was I'll just use 50K. You'll be due to get your pension. I'm guessing that you probably be around 68 when you
68.
due for your pension. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at none of you look like
You
you
keep
were in the
changing
old
it.
pension.
They
Yeah.
keep
So
changing the
68.
goalposts. So
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
soon,
exactly.
we don't know.
Maybe next
Yeah.
I'll be 72. So mine is
Oh,
68 as well. So if
yeah.
by the time in 30 years time or thereabout you get to 68, you shouldn't get 50K
Okay.
because it's being adjusted by inflation. So you
Mm.
should get the equivalent of what 50K should buy
Be
by then because it's being adjusted.
Mm.
So that's one of the
Right.
beauty of
That's
NHS
great.
pension defined
Yeah.
benefit. Yeah, it's just that you have
Right.
to wait. You have to
We
wait
have
till
to
you get.
wait.
Yeah, compared to SIP, if you use a DC pension, defined contribution pension like a SIP, self-invested personal pension
Mm-hmm.
that you manage by yourself, or even a personal pension, those ones are defined contribution. Whatever you put in your pot is what you get. Whatever your employer puts in the pot is what you get, and then you can invest it in the market. Or you
Right.
can draw your SIP at 55.
Yeah.
So it's called normal minimum pension age. It's 55, but talking about goalpost from 2028, it's being moved to 57.
50. Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
The last 2 weeks we've done 2 tax hacks. So we call it tax hack X-ray, where you kind of like X-ray your finances, find where you're leaking tax and block it up. So what usually happens is that you work in this hospital. HMRC has made an estimation that you earn so and so amount, and they are charging you 20% tax. They are assuming you're a basic rate taxpayer, but maybe you earn a little bit more. Maybe you did extra shift, or your income has gone up, and they haven't actually taxed you properly, and that's how you end up with 40% tax band, but they don't know. Other things that could happen, for instance, if you earn above 100K, for every £2 above 100K, you start losing your personal allowance, which I'm going to explain when we go to the 60% tax up. So while you're still earning the same income or you've earned above 100K, your tax situation has changed. So suddenly you're being taxed on more of your money, but still HMRC hasn't caught on. So by the time you file in the end of the tax year and they reconcile, then they turn around and write you a letter to say, Dimi, yeah, oh, for my friend it was £22,600 and he was a registrar. Yeah, he was puzzled. Yeah. Uh, but there are ways around it. We've had times when HMRC wrote me that I was owing them, and then when we finished, they were owing me. So, yeah, it's happened multiple times. So, how does that happen? One, I do self-assessment every single year. I don't have to, but I do it because
Like that's when you get to above a certain earning, isn't it?
yeah.
Or
So
when you have
there's a mandatory criteria. If you meet
Right.
that mandatory criteria, you must do it. But if you don't meet the mandatory criteria, you might opt to do it. For instance,
Right.
if you're earning above 150K, or you're a director of a limited company, or you earn capital gains, maybe you invest in stocks, your value goes up, or you sell a house, those are all reasons to do self-assessment, okay?
Right.
But there are other reasons as well. For instance, if you've contributed money to your SIP, your private pension, HMRC may know or they may not know. They might know enough to give you back 20% inside the pot because the SIP provider would inform them. But you're a higher rate taxpayer, so you're entitled to claim another 20%. So you don't get that till you do self-assessment. Another example is tax relief on professional expenses we started with. You can claim up to £2,500 every tax year. But come on, some taxes you might end up spending more than 2.5. When you CCT, you write exam, you do GMC, you do BMA, you do mileage. So if you're above 2.5, HMRC says we're not going to pay you through that P87. But if you really want this money, you've got to do self-assessment. So that's another reason to do self-assessment. So I like to do self-assessment because it allows a balancing of the equation. I'll give you an example. If I put money into my pension this year, HMRC doesn't know. I have to tell them. So I do self-assessment to use that to reduce my tax bill. But HMRC doesn't ask you to do self-assessment to help you reduce your tax bill. They are hoping to be able to get a bit more. They're hoping that if you have some fancy painting you're selling on Etsy, or you've gone to earn some money, in cash, they want you to declare it. That's why
Yeah.
it's self-assessment.
Yeah.
To declare it and then pay tax on it. Yeah, but it goes two ways. So I have a framework called the ABCDE framework. I know we mentioned in chapter 5 of
Yeah.
my book. It's titled "Clamp the Tax Bleed." So you see, it's very serious language. They're trying to clamp the tax bleed. So if you want to find where you might be leaking taxes, usually use that ABCDE approach. For yourself, for instance, so you're ST5. Good. So if you're ST5, where I would usually start to be, okay, have you sort of like gone above 100K in adjusted net income? Okay. Yes. So that's where I'll start. Then secondly, you look at your income. Are you in a higher rate tax band? So if you're earning above
Obviously, you will.
£50,271, you are in a higher rate tax band. That's 40%.
40%. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, are you doing some extra shift as well?
Yeah.
That also push you a little bit. If you do a deep dive, you always see that there's something, and once you
Yeah.
plug it, then it gets sorted. That is why I always do self-assessment, because self-assessment is an opportunity for let's reason together, right? Like, where am I owing you? Where are you owing me? Let's balance this book. Stop writing me brown envelope letters. I'm not going to run away from my house. Yeah, but basically, if you go through the ABCD framework, A is for allowances. So are there any allowances that are unclaimed? Your pension allowance, I mean, you don't have to use up to the 60K because that might not be your priority, but you think about it like your ISA allowance. Are you saving money in a bank account that is not an ISA account? Okay, because when you save money in a bank account that is not an ISA account, you generate interest. And when you generate interest, HMRC is interested in the interest that has been generated in your bank account. You've got to pay tax on that interest at your marginal rate. Okay. So we'll keep going through the ABCD. So this is an allowance. It's called PSA, Personal Savings Allowance. For a higher rate taxpayer, for you it's £500. For a basic rate taxpayer, it's £1,000. For an additional rate taxpayer, it's £0. So if you save any money and you're a higher rate taxpayer, as long as it's not inside a regular savings account, if it's inside a regular savings account and you generate interest above £500, that interest will be taxed at your marginal rate. So that marginal rate will be the highest rate at which you pay tax. For you, that will be 40%, right? So I'll give you a scenario. I had a consultant who, for several years, she's been saving. She's a really senior doctor. She's been saving about 100K. She was afraid to learn how to invest and all that kind of stuff, and she's been saving in a regular bank account. Generates significant income, like £5,000, but then has to pay about 2,000 or thereabouts in interest every year. And then HMRC doesn't wait for her to declare it in self-assessment as they used to do. They'll just change her tax code. And then so now you're owing that money. They have to get out that 2K. So that's one thing. PSA, personal savings allowance. That's one way many people don't realize. But obviously that's not the case for you. So you're using your allowances, or you're not saving outside an ISA. Okay, because under allowance there's also capital gains allowance. Have you sold a house or property or car? I've got to ask. I never know. You never know. You never know. Or have you sold stocks and shares or bonds, or sold capital gains? If they're inside an ISA, then they are not affected. They're not affected by any of those allowances, because there's a capital gains allowance of £3,000, which you can claim, and above that you have to pay tax. There's savings allowance, which you've already mentioned, your personal savings allowance. Okay, so these are all under allowances. There are other allowances like pension. We've also mentioned it. Then the B will be business structure. Have you got a limited company? It doesn't sound like it. For instance, if you are doing any job, you should be asking yourself, can I do this as a company? Because when you do it as a company, it gives you more flexibility in terms of tax situation. Imelda, Adam, assuming you've got one of those limited companies by now. Yeah, good.
Yes.
So that gives you opportunity. For instance, my company obviously bought what you can see, and my company owns the right to my book and all that kind of stuff. It helps it to be more tax efficient. Now the next thing is C. Let's come back to you, Dumi. So C is clawbacks. Clawbacks. HMRC is saying everyone has got this, but because of this, we are taking it back from you. And to understand clawbacks, two things you need to understand is what we call adjusted net income. Not just your income, the adjusted net income. So basically, to be your gross income. So if your trust say we're going to pay you 80K, to be 80K minus your pension, So there are other deductions, but pension will be the biggest one. So let's say it's 80K minus your pension that you contributed, then minus, let's say if you claim the tax relief from professional expenses or you contributed money to a charity and you get what we call gift aid. So
Yeah.
those could be deducted from your gross income to give your adjusted net income, right? Now, if your adjusted net income reaches certain levels in the UK system, then you lose something, and I'll tell you the levels. The second thing is really important to explain these tax traps or clawbacks is the personal allowance, or just to remember, it's called the personal tax allowance. It's 12,570. If you earn up to 12,570, I don't know why it's still 12,570. It's been 12,570 for many
They've
years.
frozen it for another
They've
how many
frozen
years?
it for another how many years. And you know,
Gosh.
12,570 now and 12,570 10 years ago is not the same, right?
Mm-mm.
When I came to UK about 10 years ago, £100 then, you need £140 to buy the same thing. But back to the allowance, 12,570. I knew that as a student then. I knew, okay, I didn't work for my first 1 year in the UK. I was studying. I thought, I didn't have time, but I realized, you need to work. You run out of money. So if you earn 12,570 for the whole year, you pay zero tax. So the same applies to you. But if you get to a certain point, if you earn up to 100K in adjusted net income, for every £2 above 100K, you lose £1 from that 12,570. So imagine you earn 120K, so adjusted net income, you lose 10,000 from that 12,570. Not much less, okay? And by the time you hit 125,140, you've lost the entire allowance. So more of your income is pushed into the taxable band. So more of your income is being taxed in 20%, more of your income is being taxed in 40%. And anything you're earning above that 100K, between 100K and 125, 140, it creates sort of an effective tax of 60%, which is horrendous and which HMRC would never mention on the site. Yeah, you can check these things with nhssallarycalculator.com. I just built that so that people can calculate it easily. It's a free to use tool. Now, 100K is one that is popular because we talk about it so much. We made a lot of content about it because it's affecting many doctors. What many people forget about is there's a 60K. So HMRC doesn't do per annum. They do tax
A
year from
tax
April
year.
6 to April 5.
Mm.
So they count it from what you earn in April 6, from April 6 this year to the next year. So for now, this tax year ends April 5. Okay. If you go back to adjusted net income, 60,000, that's the one most people miss. So if you have children, you've got like child benefits, basically at 60K adjusted net income, you start losing some of that as well. So for instance, if you earn 62,000, I'm just going to use 62,000 in adjusted net income. Now you're considered as a high income, professional according to HMRC, and you have to pay back some of the child benefit you get. It's called high income child benefit charge. It's funny, and this is where I say the law is an ass. Let me explain it to you. If my next door neighbor, let's say myself, I earn zero because I'm a stay-at-home dad, and then my wife Nancy earns 62,000, we are assumed to be joint family income is 62K, but because she earns above 62K adjusted net income, we are a high income family, so we have to pay back some of that, child benefit. Yeah, for every £200, we have to give back like 1%. If my next door neighbor, who are lovely, and let's say they are both working and they each earn 58,000 adjusted net income, or maybe they earn like 70K, but they put like 12K in their pension to reduce their adjusted net income. If the adjusted net income is 50K, 58K each, so they both earn about 100 or 59,000. Let's get to the edge. 59,000 each is 118K. So, but they are considered not to be a high income family for that child benefit charge. So the law is a little bit blind. That's why you've seen the image of the law holding something and this blindfolded lady. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense, right?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. So you could actually go out on the street and carry a placard and shout your voice hoarse and say, this is not fair. Or you can say, oh, is that the game? Okay, my adjusted net income is 62K. Why? I'm going to pay this 2K into my pension to bring down my adjusted net income, and that restores your entire child benefit. The same thing will happen at the 100K point, because that would restore your entire tax-free allowance. There's a third tax cliff. I don't talk about it too much. I've only had like maybe 20% of people in my mastermind, so my financial community coaching program, I've only had 20% of people who talk about that one, and they will usually be senior or they've got private practice. Is the third level is 260K in adjusted net income. That could catch you out. So what you lose there is your pension allowance. That's 60K. So previously, yeah, there's always a price to pay for moving higher. So that's 60K. So I've had a doctor who was at 262K adjusted net income. That means they're earning quite a lot of money. And people say, why have any sympathy for them? I'm thinking, well, but they just work so hard for 40 years. And they've been wise, and they're a director here, and they're also like a clinician, but they also advise health tech companies. And then, this is a consultant working in a hospital and has about 262K adjusted net income. So if she doesn't do anything about it, she's going to lose some of her pension allowance. That could be crippling, because the pension is what gives her the opportunity to reduce her adjusted net income. So if she contributes that 2K, exactly. So it could fall all the way down to 10K in pension allowance. So while you have 60K, I have 60K, she could have only 10,000 adjusted net income. So these are the 3 choke points, and we're only at C, right? We've not done D, do me, but you don't seem very pleased. I understand.
Don't worry. The one thing you can do is, like Dr. Andy has said, like sometimes it could just be like they're trying to regularize, either you underpaid at some point when your salary was higher or lower, or before they got to that tax year, something had changed.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, my MisJ used to say, if you go and call them now, they will now
it happens to everybody.
So for me, I was hit with I think 2022, 2023, HMRC just slapped me with one that I was heartbroken for like a week. I just could, even when I sleep, I was having headache. So I think for me, what I realized was that, like Dr. Andy was saying, for example, your trust give HMRC, for example, this is how much you earn in a year. So let's say, for example, you are earning maybe 50K or something like that. So HMRC has calculated how much tax you are going to pay in a year. So even when you do extra locums and things that you're getting paid more, you'll be getting more money back, and HMRC is sort of undertaxing you. So by the time, let's say, for example, you are supposed to earn, if you were not doing locums, maybe 50K, but by the time you add your locums, you have earned up to 90K. HMRC has taxed you, let's say, at the minimum, means that HMRC has to take tax out of the 40K that you have calculated at the higher tax.
At 40%.
Exactly, at 40%, at that tax band. So what I do is every couple of months, I look at my payslip, I look at where we are at, then I adjust it.
Yes.
Every couple of months, I look at where I'm at, then I adjust it. So at the end of the tax year, I know that HMRC cannot get me, because whenever I adjust it, they adjust my tax code. So then they sort of tax me as and when. To the extent that even this year, I was like, HMRC cannot get me. So even in January, I still increased a bit. I knew I was not going to earn that much, but I still increased it to that level, so that at the end of the day, I know I'm going to get some money back from HMRC, because I did not want a situation that 3 years ago, I was heartbroken. Like, I could not even eat. I'm like, how did I, I was in shock.
And also, if you've stopped any job, like what MisJ was saying, there was a time I stopped setting locum, because I know that has not reflected on their own, and I had to go on my own to go and reflect that I've actually stopped doing that locum. They said they will need to contact the employer to make sure that I haven't. So that also, what I saw was that my personal allowance now increased again, because it was a bit low. It increased because of that adjustment. So you might need to go through your HMRC app and look through things, like actually sit down and look through it yourself.
And I think in your case as well, because you've changed trust, HMRC thinks you have 2 jobs. Because that preview, the tax code, so they think you have 2 jobs. So they are taxing you as like you are having a second job. So they will still refund your money back to you when you reconcile things.
And you have also gone less than full time. So there are a lot of things that have changed. They just want to make sure they are not losing money. They want to hold the one they have, and then later they regularize it.
I mean, the other side is commoner. When someone has done locums, you go and do like 2 days locum, and HMRC just assumes you're working there for the rest of the year.
Yes,
and exactly. You're 125 5,000 from there.
Yes.
But the
Exactly.
overall theme is that when it comes to taxes and finances and everything, you can't assume that HMRC is sorting it out, or even your
No.
accountant is sorting it out. You
No.
should still take charge of your
Yeah.
finances. You know, it doesn't
Absolutely.
need you to
Yeah.
now be changing it every day anyway.
No,
But
no, no,
at
no.
least have some sort of sequence, maybe quarterly, especially
Yeah.
now the tax is about to end. You can go
Yeah.
in and adjust it. Usually it used to be adjusted down, but in
Yeah.
your case, you're adjusting it up.
Up,
Yeah.
right. So we still have a little bit of time left. Let's talk about investments, because that's one of the things we talked about a lot this year. We say we're going to talk about that. I know some people have different understandings. Some people are beginners. Some people have actually started investing, and some people are pros. So for the benefit of those that are in the former two, not the ones not right. What are the options when it comes to smart investing in the UK?
Yeah, okay. So it's a very interesting topic. I think I probably said this before. I started investing at 19, and when I started investing, the money didn't look like much. And part of why I was able to leave my salaried job 4 years ago and not needed a job is because I hit what people call financial freedom or financial independence, whatever. It just means I don't have to have a job if I don't want a job. But investing is never like an overnight thing. But the question is, if you don't start now, you might as well just start now, because if you don't want to work forever, if you don't want to work till the last day that you are on this earth, you've got to either have some money put aside as savings, and if you want to grow that money, how to go about it to be investing. So that's the way I look at it. I don't look at investing as, oh, I'm just going to buy this and I hope it goes up. No, I'm buying into like a business, I'm buying into a company, I'm buying into like this. Just think of it like a farm. I'm thinking it's got to produce and then it's got to grow.
Yeah.
The commonest and easier way for people to start investing, especially if you're a busy professional, will be the stock market. And a lot of my investment, I would say like 80%, 85% has been stocks. I've got a few properties, but it has been stock market. And why I'm a big fan of the stock market, apart from the fact that I've been investing in the stock market for 20 something years, is because when you invest in stocks, you're investing in businesses where people are waking up. People like us are waking up every day, going to work, and they're trying to grow the value of that business. So basically, they are working for you. Your money is compounding. Number two, if you do it right, if you invest correctly with the stock market, you don't have to be monitoring it daily, up and down, your blood pressure and your pulse going up and down with the market. You don't really need to do any of that. With stock market, you can actually automate your investment, make it passive, average over time, and still compound far more than people doing all sorts of fancy stuff. And there's documented evidence for this. Number three, you could invest in the stock market without being an expert in the stock market. If you invest in property and you don't know a lot, you might either have to trust someone with the money. Hopefully, that person, is somebody that is trustworthy, and even trustworthy people could lose money. I use something I call REST framework. I wrote about it in chapter 9 of my book, REST. When I look at any investment, tell me there's an oil well in Peru, or let's go and buy out some oil well in Iran in the Strait of Hormuz, or buy some tankers and pay. I'm like, okay, am I going to have rest in this thing? Arrow is for return on the investment. How much return are we even talking about? Because if you say you're going to get 10% return, I'll say to you, but last year we did like 50 something percent in the market. And if I only just bought index fund like S&P 500 or even FTSE or World, I could have done maybe about 10% or 9%. So why do I want to take that risk to get that return? So that's R. R is return, but risk and return are two sides of a coin. They are the same thing to me. The way I look at them is you're taking more risk, you want to get more return. So that's R. E is for effort and energy I have to involve in it. Investment, I click a button. This year, I'm investing, I'm maxing out my SIP. I'll put 60K in my SIP. It's coming from my company. So if I don't put it there, then I have to declare it as profit and pay tax on it. And I'm like, okay, well, we're not doing that, right? So we're paying it into our future. So I click a button, I fill out a form, bam, bam, I choose what I want to invest, and that's it, okay? As long as you've got some basic education in investing. Not like I was in a WhatsApp group and someone said I should buy that stock. No, you need to understand the basics, and it doesn't take that long. A week, a couple of weeks, you learn. That's the E. The S is basically about stress. how much stress is involved in it. I've had my friend. So this guy is a consultant, and he's in my mastermind. So he does one-to-one coaching, and he attended my investing training. He said to me that he had a property he bought, and they collect a rent of how much was it? 850 or thereabout. He's paying mortgage of about 350, and so now it's 400 pounds extra per month. And then suddenly there was an issue to fix, and that issue took 12k, and they had to also borrow a loan from the bank to fix it. So if you're into property and that's your day to day, you have the time to run around and do all that, you could even go on all fours and fix it yourself. More power to your elbow. I'm not doing any of that, So that's the S, the stress, and then T is the time. How quickly do you get your return? If you look at all this and you're a busy professional who doesn't want to leave what you're doing and become an expert in something or stressful stuff, you want to compound in the background, the stock market will be the way to start. So because of the limited time, obviously my investing academy takes like 4 weeks and it's 4 hours. So I'm going to compress it into like 4 Saturdays, and it's 4 hours each of the Saturdays, but you just learn how to invest, and that's a skill you can use for life. But if I want to compress it in 4 minutes, I'll say this. 1, you want to do the scrubs. The scrubs is the steps before you start investing. It's like save first, make sure that you deal with any high interest debt, because if you have a credit card that charges you 27% and you're making an investment that gives you 10%, that means your math did not work, right?
No matter.
Exactly. But you'd be surprised how many people chase an investment that, I'm going to give him money. He'll give me 15%. He's doing property. Dude, it's 15%. Your credit card is a short 27%. So you paying off that credit card is already an investment for you. So then things like your saving is an emergency fund, basically 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses, so that if there is a war and some random president decides they're fighting war in some random places, you don't have to sell your investment. This has happened twice. Last year there was a drop in the market, right, because of trade war. Now there's an actual war. They're throwing bombs around. The market drops. If you need money suddenly, you don't have to sell at a loss if you have an emergency fund. So that's why you've got to save that emergency fund and keep it in the right account, like do me in a cash ISA, right? You don't want to put it in a regular savings account. Now, the other thing is financial protection. Obviously, you want to have your life insurance, income protection, and all that. So if you don't have to work, there are multiple stories I've had. I've talked to over 1,000 doctors of people who couldn't work. They were locum. There was suddenly no income, and they had to sell stuff and all that kind of stuff. If you've set up that base in place and you have some basic financial education and you want to start investing, I would prefer to buy the world. So if I buy the FTSE All World, not financial advice, but if you're a busy person and you wanted to buy you wanted to buy an index fund. So rather than trying to find that one company that is going to outperform everyone, you might just buy the entire basket. It's the equivalent of saying rather than trying to find the needle in the haystack, you could just buy the entire haystack. I don't know how much of football you guys are interested in. Probably I'm not too much of a football fan, but you know about Chelsea. You've heard about
I know
Man U.
Chelsea. I know.
It's hard to escape football fans. I'm not hating on football fans, but
Yeah.
if you said, "Oh, Chelsea is going to win the Champions League, the European Champions League," is a more riskier bet. If you win, it's big money. Not gambling or saying anyone should gamble. But on the other hand, if you say it's going to be an English club side, you've diversified. If you say it's going to be a Premiership club, you've diversified it, but you're a little bit narrower. So that's basically what you do when you're buying an index fund. So whether you buy a FTSE All World, which is basically like global, covers like maybe 80% of stock markets, will cover US, London, even as far as Taiwan and the rest of them. Some people like to buy S&P 500, which is basically like the top 500 companies in the US based on size. That's what we call capitalization. Again, none of this is a suggestion for anyone to go out and buy all things. We're just 4 doctors talking, right? Yeah. So we're not suggesting you should buy anything without knowing what you're doing. But if you start investing like that and you know that you're buying this particular index, of course, there are other ETFs as well. You could decide, I want to invest in semiconductors because AI is just blowing up. But you don't want to buy one company, NVIDIA, because if you're buying it when it's now all high and the multiples, what we call PE ratios, are all high, you're already paying a premium for it. And you don't know which company might come out on top for the semiconductors war. You might decide to buy the entire basket of companies that do semiconductors. By the way, Nvidia and AMD, which is another massive one. The CEOs are cousins, so family reunion will be very interesting. Yeah, but you can decide to buy all of them inside an ETF, is a basket of stocks. So that way you're spreading your risk, you're diversifying. So that's one way you can start investing in a safe way, and you can then decide to automate it with my system I call AMAS. It's just my fancy name for automated monthly allocated savings system. Set up a direct debit, takes out the money from your account, puts it into your stock market investment where you've already set up instructions. That way, it happens in the background. You don't have to be disciplined. You don't have to remind yourself. I wish I could come up with that sort of system for going to the gym or working out or eating. That way,
God.
it's all automated and it's working in
Just
the
do it.
background and it's compounding. So this is how someone who is not a guru in investing can actually start investing. But again, I keep saying, getting some basic education around investing is really quite important. I'll put out like
Yeah.
hundreds of videos. I think almost 800 videos on tax, investing, and all that on our YouTube channel. And it's all free to watch for people
Yeah.
who want to start.
Yeah. And obviously, with investing, you don't have to start big. You can always start small. £100 here, £50 here, something there that is not a lot. But if you want to obviously go big, that's fine.
Yeah. Can I just mention? So basically, obviously, we have to say this, that future performance cannot be guaranteed.
No. Past performance is not a guarantee.
Past performance is not a guarantee of the future performance.
Yes.
But basically, we see data, right? And
Yeah.
if you want to reduce your risk, for instance, if you invest in one company, let's say you buy like Tesla or Nvidia, you think this company is going to change the world. They might change the world. They might not. But if their stocks collapse or something happens, you could lose your shares, right? Now, if you invested in FTSE All World or S&P 500, imagine losing those 500 companies collapsing at the same time. Because S&P 500, the companies there are not the same companies there when I started investing. If you fall out of the league table, you're out. Yeah, like companies like Tesla and Nvidia were not even in S&P 500. So I would say, well, maybe never say never. If those 500 companies collapse suddenly, I
We
wouldn't
just call it a day.
Exactly. I wouldn't be worried about my money. The question is there like an apocalypse? Is there world war? What's going on
The
here?
world has ended.
Apple
Let's
has
just call
gone,
it a day.
Tesla has gone. Exactly. Like all these big energy companies. I think the last thing on my mind would be investing. And that's why during COVID, when it seemed like the world was ending, I said, well, what's going to happen? Because 2020 was really, it was a sad year for many of us, but investment wise, it was like a wonderful opportunity. When the market was down and I was like remortgaging my house and investing and doing all kind of stuff, I thought, if the world ends, so I won't need the money, right? But what if the world doesn't end? And now the world didn't end, and we're on the other side. So I've seen 3 stock market crashes, and that's it. The second thing I would say about investing is consistency. It's good to put £20 there and all that. That's a good way to start. But when you become serious about it, which I say as soon as possible, because what I always hear from doctors who are 60s, I wish I met you when I was in my 50s. When I meet people who are in their 50s, say, I wish I met you when I was in my 40s. When I meet doctors in their 40s, why didn't anyone tell me this when I was in my 30s? Guess what people in their 30s are saying? I wish I met you in my 20s.
I wish I was 15.
Exactly. So the sooner you start, and if you make it consistently a system that runs in the background, that's why I like AMAS, automated monthly allocated savings system. If it works in the background, you don't have to think about it. When the market is down, your £100 or £50 just buys more of the market. When your market is up, your £100 or £50 just buys less of the market. It takes away the psychological bait, because people think you have to be a mass wizard. It's not about the mass, it's about the psychology. If you take away the psychological burden, then you don't have to make that decision. Of course, except you want to invest in individual companies like I do sometimes, so a lot of times. So if you're not doing that, you can actually do a very good compounded returns for several years, and you would outperform 90% of professional money managers. It sounds ridiculous.
Interesting.
Without even being an expert, you can outperform 90% of professional managers based on past data, which is not a prediction of the future.
Exactly. Yeah. When I was reading through your book, obviously, one of the things you said, which I just want to share, is about paying yourself first. Like
Yep.
you said, that should be one of the things you do when you get your money. You pay yourself first before you start, gallivanting
Yeah.
and and doing other stuff. Obviously,
No,
after your bills,
before your bills.
before your bills,
Before your bills.
you
Yeah,
pay yourself first, and then your bills.
that's the first is first. This
Yeah.
concept is not new. It's 100 years old. They're 1925. Absolutely, you've got to do it before your bills, or you're not going to get there. So
But whatever you are
how do you?
paying yourself, that's what you use part to pay your bills, isn't it?
Well, let's look at the math. You'll be surprised. The secret is to pay yourself first. Remember, you made the money. Why are you paying BT, energy companies, everybody before yourself? Okay, let's say you decide going for, let's say, MisJ, you want to put aside 20% of your income. Additional finance will say put aside 10 to 15%. But I know that most doctors, healthcare professionals, by the time we even start, it's already like we're a little bit more further along our career, age, timing, and all that, because you've worked all these years, you've gone to medical school, you become a resident doctor, you move to a new country. So when you start, one secret weapon you have is, hopefully for most people, not all the time, but consistent income. You can plan. So now, and also, you're not like the highest earning person in the country, but you're also not the lowest. In fact, you're a little bit above the median. So you want to double charge your compounding. So I usually say if you can do 20%, and someone will say, I spoke in Royal College of Emergency Medicine recently, and someone will say, oh, what if I'm in debt? I said, that is what that 20% is for. So basically, it's for buying your freedom. If you've got 20% of your income, is going to pay off your debt. And I'm not saying you're in debt, you're a slave, but the Bible says the borrower is a slave to the debtor. But you want to get out of that debt. When I was in my salary job, I didn't want to owe for a car or anything. Obviously, you could have a mortgage, it's a low interest. Now, if that debt is crushed, and you're paying it automatically, it's 20% is going out of your account before you pay anyone. It's happening on the first day. If you're going to pay others, at least pay yourself automatically. Why are you paying your water bills, light bills, council tax, BMA automatically? And then you want to pay yourself when you remember to transfer. The bills that are automated get paid. The bills that are not automated get forgotten. Because budgeting is great, but I've never done any budgeting in my life. And that's like a blasphemy for a personal finance guy.
Exactly.
But budgeting is telling your money what to do, right?
Yeah.
Does it always do it? No. Automation is making sure it does it. So budgeting is like diet. Okay, I'm going to say it again. It's a good clip. So budgeting is telling your money what to do, but automation is making sure it does it. That's why I said if I can get an automated diet and exercise, I'm buying it straight away. So budgeting doesn't work for people like me, because I've got, like you guys, we seem to have the same complexion, except Imelda is shiny.
Black tax.
Imelda is shiny black. But yeah, okay, the rest of you are shiny. So Imelda, if you have black tax, you know that there's always someone who wants something. There's always family. We budget for it anyway. There's always pressure. There's always something. But if that 20%, okay, you can start at 10%. If it's gone out, it's going for paying off your debt. If you have no debt, what do? It's going for saving up your emergency fund. If you save up your emergency fund, you've got 3 to 6 months worth of your living expense. You can stop saving now and start investing. So without changing your lifestyle, you're going to find out, I've had like over 1,000 doctors go through this stuff. Without changing your lifestyle, you start paying off your debt, you're investing, and you're saving and you're investing without changing your lifestyle. It's not going to mean that when you now need to eat, if you eat 2 pieces of meat, you're going to eat 1. It doesn't change your lifestyle, but guess what goes away? Things are not that important. There are some things that you buy, like you've used up the money for the month. So I say pay yourself first. If you finish paying yourself, just make sure that your bills, especially if you pay energy bills, are equally inside the ones that get paid first. Don't want anybody's energy to be cut off.
Right. So let's talk about your book. Actually, I got this book when?
didn't get a copy for them so that they can
No,
all
not
read it at the same
yeah.
time.
I think I got for you guys.
It's at MoneyWiseDoctor.com.
When the book came out, I was like, I have to buy it. And the reason is that when it comes to people making impact, like I say, sometimes you feel like when you're sharing free knowledge, you don't get any return from it. And I feel like sometimes Andy is taking a big risk by putting a lot of free knowledge. I'm like, so if you're a sharp person, you grab some things that you don't have to do for mastermind, right? That's
Yeah.
what you would feel that. But how is he really making it again? So when he wrote a book, I was like, I'm going to buy it. Even if I don't attend mastermind, I want to buy it because I know that he will write something good.
Yeah.
That's what I just
Yeah,
said.
thank
I'll
you.
buy it. So, because I'm writing a book, I'm like, yeah, just read it. I'm going to buy it anyway
Aw.
because no matter what, I will still read it. I will still. So I'm struggling in terms of reading.
Yeah.
But every time I'm entering the train, which is like a lot often, I always carry it. So I've been reading it, and it's really been great.
Fantastic.
So
That means I need to work hard to get the audio out then because I consume
no,
a lot.
I'm not struggling because of the book.
Okay.
I'm just like
Time
really
to
trying to get into
read.
my book
Yeah.
era because we stopped reading medical school.
It's
Wrapped
true.
it up.
It's true.
But I've been making myself. Obviously, I've read up to this, so I'm still going.
Bravo.
Yeah. So if someone wanted to pick up this, what's different? Because we have a lot of finance books. We have a lot.
Yeah.
So what would be the motivation for me to go back to paper instead of electronic and YouTube?
So the funny thing is this. Recently I released a video on my YouTube channel where I said it covers everything, like a lot of things, and it's free. So anyone could actually go. We're not too worried about like if someone feels they can get everything, we're more than happy. But that's not how the world works. That's not how the world works. How the internet works is that if you're generous, you put out your stuff, you're putting out content. So content is everywhere. You could even use AI to implement it. But context is limited. AI doesn't have experience. AI hasn't invested for 21 years. AI doesn't know why Dumi's tax code is not coming back. So this is context. So content everywhere. I think content should be free. Like I'll give out content. I don't charge for content. Implementation is different. If you're not thinking, well, I'm just like, I've got this now complex situation. Oh, I'm in 260K. I don't know what to do. Really, you don't think you should get some extra help before you make a big mistake that'll cost you 20K. So I don't really mind. But to prove it, about 600 copies of the book were ordered before it came out. I was still writing. I had to say, oh gosh, I have to stop everything I was doing, just take out 2 months, breakneck speed, wake up, drop off like school run, come back, write, come back, go and hang out in coffee shop, write overnight. So there's that concept. Most people worry that if you teach everything you know, someone is going to copy it and then they don't need you or your content, and that is absolutely fine. But the truth of the matter is that our model in MoneyWise Doctor is that 99% of our audience get our content for free. So we've got like 800 YouTube videos. There's like master classes and all that kind of stuff. There's 1%, the 1% that we can help the most. The 1%, it's not like dull people. Some of them are super sharp. They've been investing for years, but they are quite. Some of them are quite senior in their career, or they are not senior, but they've got like really complex situations where they need context, they need guidance, and there are a few people that are there. I'm like, why are you really here? It turns out that they want to be in a community where people can normalize trying to be financially free before you're 50 or 55. And they don't want to learn it from a random teenager who's in Dubai standing next to a rented Ferrari. They're like, okay. And then come back to medics again. There are lots of great books you can read, absolutely fantastic books. But medics, like doctors and our finances, could be a little bit more complex. I mean, if you're not a doctor and you read this book, you can still find useful stuff. But we have some shared issues like passing through medical school. By the time you're in your final year, you're seeing your classmate that used to beat in school is now like a bank manager. They're driving one big car. The next thing they're married, they're settled, and you're like, what's happening now? I thought this is medicine. Okay, when I start house job, you do the house job and the money is still not there. You do youth service. Okay, I'm going to move to UK. You move to UK, the money is still not there. Some people move to another country. So until you realize, okay, as a doctor, my own trajectory is slightly different. Therefore, I need to pattern my trajectory. That means that when I'm in training, I'm not trying to buy a car to impress anyone. Of course, I do like a nice car. I've got a couple of them packed out there, but I'm not last time I had to pay for it cash. But I'm not trying to impress anyone. You understand your pathway is different. Let me give you an example. Like Dumi, you're a resident doctor, right? And MisJ, are you a resident
I'm a
doctor as well?
GP.
You're a GP, good. Let's say Dumi is resident doctor and she finishes training. I don't know when you finish. Maybe let's say next year. Let's just 2020. Let's say in 2020 you finish. Now your income is going to go up when you finish your training. What most people do is that they match up their income to that their lifestyle. So let's say GP registrar earning 65k or what GP registrars earn, and then suddenly gets like 8-session job paying 80k. And then rather than think, you know what, I've not died at my current lifestyle, so I'm just going to maintain it for one more year. Just 1 year. Nothing will change. I'm not going to change a new flat or new house or change my cars or just 1 year, not forever. No, we're all going to know you've arrived, but just
Of
give
course,
1 year.
our GP.
Now, Ababola. So if you do that 1 year, between 65k and 80k, that's like 15k.
Yeah.
Extra that could go into your SIP, it could go into your ISAs, it could help you sleep or your emergency fund or pay off some debt, help you sleep a little bit at night. And guess what? By year 2, you might decide, I just want to do it for a second year. So this is just slight changes you could make, and it's not going to change what you wear. It's not going to make you to stop flying a private jet. You aren't flying one anyway. So most likely you're just going to become more intentional about your finances. So that's the whole point, because I had to ask myself, why another book? And I've been thinking about this book for a long time. I was that guy that while I was in med school, I was teaching my consultants how to invest. And I would think, why should there be another book? I don't want to write a book that less than 1,000 people read. And, lots of books, like maybe 85% of books, less than 1,000 people even read them. In fact, I think about 70%, less than 100 copies sell. So I wanted to write a book that was really relevant and resonant. So we're very fortunate when it hit the bestseller on Amazon in 4 categories: on investing, personal finance, money management, and retirement planning. That's my claim to fame, at least for that 72 hours.
To be honest, yeah. And it's very, 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 how will I put it now? It's almost as if you're
number one.
Clock it well.
Yeah, I had to get like a screenshot.
Yeah, let me put it for posterity's sake. And to be honest with you, it feels like when I'm reading most of this, like when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I was confused. I was like, I had to, first of all, I kept checking the meaning of most of the words they were using and all of that. It's not highfalutin like we like to say. All those italics, when you're almost as if someone is talking in your ears and you're trying to, explain something something like that. And I think it's really well written and also very simple. And it can make a nice gift for anyone who is struggling as well.
Thank you so much. I think half of the books that were sold before the launch came from doctors gifting it to other doctors.
Right.
So if you have a doctor friend and you didn't give them one, you could go to MoneyWiseDoctor.com /book.
Didn't give me one.
you can gift her.
Work out your own salvation with what? Fear and trembling.
So it's been a very interesting ride with the book, and like I said, lots of people read the book and suddenly they didn't know about MoneyWise Doctor. They read the book and suddenly they want to work with you. Because what happens in an investing academy or tax hack X-ray sessions or mastermind is that most time people think they know something. It's just like a patient walks into your clinic. They think they know something. They're not proud. They just think they know it. But you have the context. You have the granularity. You've actually dealt with 1,000 people with it. And then they're suddenly saying, I didn't realize I was making this mistake and it's already cost me £25,000. So these are the kind of things that happen. And we don't expect 100% of people who read the book to come for that. But there's always like that 1%. That 1% want to give the premium, give them that support, give them structured direction and education and guidance. So the book has been we've been fortunate with it.
That's really interesting.
Thank you.
Well done. It's a lot.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Do you guys have more questions? Because I know we're going to generate a lot of questions. So where can people find you to direct that? Because people should not ask me any question. I don't know. Be going straight to the source. So ask any of us.
Do you publish on YouTube?
Yeah, we publish on YouTube, we publish on Spotify and Apple, and I think some other podcasts.
If you've got any questions, I'm more than happy. support@moneywisedoctor.com.
Okay.
So if you got any
What about
questions,
Instagram? Are you on?
yeah, I'm on
all those?
Instagram. Yeah, I'm on Instagram and I'm on YouTube, TikTok. I'm not there dancing anyway, but
Still
people take
MoneyWise Doctor.
people take my stuff, like people from my team put it there. I used to be me running all the accounts, but I no longer do that. I'm fortunate to have some really good people. But also my primary place I write is LinkedIn. So I write on LinkedIn regularly, and every week I write the MoneyWise Doctor. It's now like 10,000 doctors who read it. So the MoneyWise Doctor is my weekly newsletter where I share what's happening, what's changing, what tax relief you're about to lose, what I've done and my progress, what I'm doing, and also when people send in questions, sometimes I turn it into an article or an explanation. It's free to get. It's on moneywisedoctor.com/subscribe. So if you go there, you can get it for free, and that's usually where people come into our world from. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Wow, it's been a wonderful, wonderful time.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. It's been interesting. I'm like I said, I'm a fan of your podcast. In fact, the name
thank you.
Loud Momos is like the masterclass in branding. Yeah. Great for.
You don't need a stethoscope to hear
Yeah,
it.
you don't need it. It's very loud. It's pansystolic.
Wow. So guys, we've come to the end of today's podcast. I know most times when you've had the podcast, like, it raises more questions than it answers, but obviously some of them is really good to get this conversation started and talk about like money, and don't be shy to ask where your money is going to, and make better decisions. It's never too late to do that. Yeah. I think there's a lot of shame around talking about money and being forward about money. Yeah,
I don't think it's just Africa. Even the British, they find talking about money.
No, those ones are the worst.
Like talking about money is like
impolite.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Impolite.
So,
yeah. But yeah, it's been a good chat. So we'll catch you guys later. Drop your comments, share with your friends and your whoever, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.
All right then, cheers. Bye.
If you're loving this podcast, be sure to click follow on your favorite listening platform. While you're there, give us a review and a 5-star rating, and share an episode you loved with a friend. Loud Momos is presented by your hosts, Drs Imelda, Jesse, and Dimogo. Our producer is Chidera of CBO Creative Planet. If you have any questions, please send us a DM on Instagram at loudmomospod, or send an email to loudmomospod@gmail.com.